Welcome to another edition of the Sim Racing Garage. I'm Barry Rowland, and today we have a special preview for you. This is the Club Sport Wheelbase version 2 from Fanatec. Now what you're looking at here is actually a beta tester's unit. This is not a production unit. The production units will be shipping, Fanatec says, in about a month or so. Now, I want you to remember that this is a beta tester's unit because there may be some changes on the production units by the time that they actually are shipping those. However, based on the performance that I've seen out of this beta unit, I don't think that they'll be changing too much on the production units. So, let's take a closer look. So now we'll take a closer look at the overall base unit. There's really not a whole lot of difference here. There is a bit of a silver ring around the entire case to designate it as a version 2 from just looking at one. And on the back, you can see where once there was none, there is now a fan. And that fan will give the airflow to the heat sink that is on the motor. And you can see the heat sink on the motor a little bit there, but it's hard to see through this. They put a dark plexiglass on this one, whereas it was a nice clear plexiglass on the version 1s. We could see everything better. You can still see some things, but it's hard to get any detail as far as what's going on inside of here and the improvements that are waiting for us inside. The base on the bottom is the same. My sticker's coming off. And I actually took the wedge off so you could see the base. So let's go through a couple of things that they've actually talked about in their blurb that they put on their website. They've actually replaced their optical sensors with some Hall sensors. And it's on the steering axis, so they got one mounted up here on the main pulley that drives the worm gear, and they have another one down on the bottom here where the motor is. And again, it's really hard to see this, and I'm gonna have to figure something out here because I'm not real happy with trying to show you guys improvements through this plexiglass, but we'll see in a minute here. All right, what else do we do? The quick release with the rubber O-ring, less tolerance. So what they're saying is they've increased the spec on this particular quick release, so the tolerances are much tighter. And I can actually, from what I've done so far as driving this system, I have not used the bolt that comes with your steering wheels that you can use to secure the wheel to the main hub here that I use all the time on version 1 because I just couldn't get my wheel tight enough. So I use the bolt that comes with all the steering wheels to go through the side of the steering wheel and into the hub. Well, I'm running the new Porsche 918 RSR wheel on this base, and I don't have any flex at all in it. So I would have to say that's true. The tolerances must be tighter or more controlled because it's not shaking or moving around on the hub once I have the wheel attached with just the quick release like it does on the version 1. Brushless motor. All right, so we went from the double stack. Remember those two Mabuchi 550s? They had a double stack in here, and of course the heat sinks were actually oriented this way, and we had a fan on the side, like I said before, to blow across those or take air out, suck them out. I can't remember if it blew in or sucked out, but it really doesn't matter. But now we have the heat sink in here going this way, front to back, and again, that's why, as we saw before, we have the fan on the back. New cooling system, again, we talked about that. Ball bearings on the motor axis and bigger ball bearings inside the pulleys. So they've actually gone into where the motor axis is down in here and installed bigger ball bearings or a bigger, they actually use sealed bearings here, but there are ball bearings inside of the sealed bearing, and they're bigger. But I really can't show you that because it's hard to see, and I can actually see in here where the pulley is. Get the glare off. But again, it's just, I can't really show you much like this, and I'm gonna have to figure something out. We'll just have to see what I do. All right, new electronics package. So it's totally reworked as far as the circuit boards on this unit. It's the motor that they actually designed here, they call it a servo motor, but I suppose any electric motor, brushless motor, could be called a servo. I used to run helicopters with little servos on them, little teeny things. So I imagine, and they were brushless, so I imagine that you could call anything just about that has a brushless motor on a servo. But anyway, servo motor, and this delivers, they're saying, about 75% more torque than the version 1. That's a lot more torque than the version 1. And the power supply had to be increased because of the bigger motor and, of course, the bigger power requirements. It's going to suck more juice. So let's take a quick look at the power supply that comes with it. And you can see, if you guys are familiar with the version 1, I'm going to show you this one. And if you look at it right up here where it has the information, see if I can get it to, you can see now it's pushing 7.5 amps instead of the old power supply, which was made by the same company, by the way, was pushing 5 amps. So now we've got 7.5 amps, which is even more than the Thrustmaster 500, which is pushing about 6.67 amps. So that again is a testament that they're definitely running a bigger, more powerful motor in the unit. Let's see, what else can we talk about? It's supposed to be available or compatible with eventually, not at the moment. I think in their advertisement they actually said that they've signed an agreement with either Xbox One or PlayStation 4. They didn't designate who they've signed an agreement with, but they're trying to sign an agreement with whoever the other one is. And this wheelbase right here will run with the PC right now. And if you look on the back here, it's got the normal control plugs that we see on the version 1 also. So we can run this with the PC, but what they're going to do, their solution is, as I understand it and read it, is they're going to provide a steering wheel that you can buy that's going to have the compatibility for either the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, or both, built into the steering wheel part. So there won't be any change to the actual base that's running the steering wheel, and it will be compatible with those consoles. So what else can we talk about here? Not much. I really can't show you much here about the improvements with this dark plexiglass that they put on these things. So I am going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead, and there's only 4 screws. I'm going to pull this cover off so we can get a look inside this thing. I can't stand not being able to see inside this thing and seeing what the actual changes are and improvements are. So again, we're just going to get inside of it, and I'll have to bear the wrath of Thomas and Fanatec if they don't approve of that. So let's go ahead and pull this cover off and take a peek inside. Right, so we got the back cover off. I'm probably going to get yelled at by Fanatec or Thomas for taking this cover off and showing you guys the internals here. I hope I won't, but I'm just to have to take that risk, because, to be honest, I don't know any other way to show you guys the actual upgrades that are in this unit. Just talking about them and trying to look, as I said before, you can't even see anything hardly through the top because it's tinted. Anyway, you can see right away, if you're familiar with the version 1 circuit board, this is a smaller circuit board package. So just like they said, it's a new electronics package on this particular unit. And you can see the motor over here has its own circuit board controlling it. And you can see there's a wiring harness back there. It actually goes to the motor. See that? Orient it. So that goes directly to this circuit board. And then you'll see the ribbon cable coming out here that's coming from the top, which is the hall sensor, with the new hall sensor. And that's being routed over to this board. So it will be controlled here. And if you look at the motor itself here, you can see it has some really big heat sinks on it, and it's a single motor now. As discussed before, it used to be a dual package in here, and the heat fins were oriented the other way. Instead of going straight back and forth, they actually went this way, and that's why the fan was on that side to blow across those heat sinks that way, and that's again why we have the fan on the back now to blow across the heat sink that way. It is a very large motor, and it replaces the 2 motors. The whole thing is kind of heavier. This feels a little heavier than the version 1 unit. What else can we see here? Now, the pulley in here, the reduction pulley over here, is actually this part on here, the middle part, is bigger than the version 1. and that allows them to install a bigger seal bearing. Hence the advertisement that we all read about the bigger or larger ball bearings, which gives us a bigger or larger load surface, which will just smooth things out and increase durability at the same time. I can't show you I can show you a little bit of it there, of the main pulley that drives that worm gear, but it also has a bigger bearing in it, a bigger seal bearing. And you can see the fan is still over here on this side. This fan is still where the other one was on version 1, blowing towards the actual gear over here, or the worm gear that drives everything. So that's not basically all I can show you as far as that goes. And we can see here, and I believe you can see this in the video, even through the tent, is it's just got the regular worm gears we had before that goes up and back and forth. And we're running some Opti belts. I should give you a shot of those. And those are the serpentine or multi-grooved bolts. I think you can see those, get the glare off of it. And it's the same belt for the running off of here to the reduction gear, running from the motor to the actual pulley back here. So you have one from the motor over here going over to the top of the reduction gear pulley, and then another belt running off of it to the main pulley that's running the worm gear. Very nice setup, actually. It's very clean, very compact, and I can feel a difference, like I said before. And I don't know what else to show you here as far as the internals. There's not a whole lot else to see, but I just wanted to open that up because I really couldn't show you the beefy bearings and the seal bearing over here, and I couldn't show you how the electronic package is all new, and the Hall sensors over here, and there's also another Hall sensor on the worm gear, the main pulley up in the front there. So that's really the only way I could show you these improvements. So again, I hope they don't yell at me too much for doing this on video and publicly exposing the rear. But once you guys buy these things, I'm sure there's going to be other people doing the same thing. It's just a couple of screws. It comes right off. It's no big deal. There is a fan on the cover, but it's a simple little Molex plug here to take the fan off the circuit board so you can move it around without dragging the cover with you. All right, so I guess that's it for that. And what we'll do now is put it back together, just basically just put the cover back on. And we're going to mount it up to the Stage 4 rig and start testing this. Of course, as you might imagine, I've already been testing this a lot. And I'm just going to show you me driving a little bit and talk a little bit about the differences in the feel, the driver setup in the software, and how I'm running the wheel, and just my thoughts on it. And then we'll get to the final thoughts on the new CSW version 2 wheelbase. Okay, so here's the Club Sport driver. It looks just like the version 1 as far as I can see. And it has the usual stuff on it for checking your steering. And you can see the Porsche wheel is up here, and that's because I have it mounted to the base right now. And you can see I'm moving the steering wheel here, and it just shows you your degrees of rotation. I have it set for 900 right now. And the usual stuff where you can test your LEDs, your display, your force feedback, vibration, the usual things that you can test on the version 1 also. Now, they also have a feature on this where you can actually push the buttons and see which button you're pushing. So that allows us to just make sure that all the buttons are working. If you push one, you can see that I'm pushing them there. Push the shifter, it registers also. And you can just go around the steering wheel and just press the buttons and make sure they're all working. And of course, they have the rotary encoder that you can turn. You can see those flashing down there. And we also have the joystick, which is the D-hat or D-pad. We'll go to settings over here real quick. And you can see my wheel angle is set to 900 degrees and my dampening is 0. If you click on the wheel angle, you can see that it says to please set the send value to off if you're going to use it in this driver. Use whatever setting you're going to use. So what's that telling you is the send value in your wheel when you're programming the wheel itself will override whatever you have here. And as you can see, My dampening strength is set to 0 because I want to feel as much as I can as far as dampening, and I'll usually set that up in the actual car if there's anything different that I want to do. So anyway, that's the driver, quick look, and let's go ahead and get to the iRacing driver. Right, so this is the iRacing driver, or setup screen if you will. And I just want to give you guys a quick glimpse of what I'm running as far as the settings for force feedback while I'm driving the car, which will be our next segment. This is the setup that I have. Again, you can see I have no dampening whatsoever in this right now because I want to feel everything that this wheel can actually put out. And the minimum force is at 1.2, and I've been playing with that, going back and forth. Again, it's all variable depending on the track you're on and the car you're on, but right now I just want to show you what I have set up when I'm actually driving the car and I'm talking about what I'm feeling. So with that said, let's go ahead and get in the car and do some driving and see how it goes. Alright, so we're in the Porsche track at Watkins Glen running the fantastic new Fanatec 918 RSR wheel. So I figured the Porsche wheel, what better car than the track Porsche. Now, you'll notice in the force feedback meter on the upper right hand corner that there's a couple places on the track that I'm actually clipping, and I'm doing that on purpose because it doesn't concern me at all to clip in a couple places of the track, which ensures that the rest of the track I'm getting as much force feedback information as I can from the simulator to the wheel. So let's talk about the force feedback amount, or how much more force that I'm feeling from this wheel. And I have it turned all the way up. The driver's up to 100, and I've got it as far as I can go as far as not clipping all the way around the track. You do notice right away that there's more force feedback as far as the amount of force feedback that you experience. There's no doubt about it. The advertisements are claiming 75%. Now, I don't know if it's 75% more torque because I don't have anywhere to measure the version 1 and then measure the version 2. I'm sure someone out there will figure out how to measure that, and we'll see the numbers on that eventually. But I'm not too concerned with it. I'm just trying to relay to you what I'm feeling in the beta wheel that I'm testing. And it definitely is noticeable. Not only is it a more force feedback that's available, but the quality of that force feedback as far as the sturdiness of it, or the stiffness, it just feels very solid, the force feedback signal coming to you. It's hard to explain. It's something you have to drive the wheel yourself to understand what I'm talking about. But it's there, and it's very noticeable over the version 1 CSW base. Also, the detail, or what I like to call the clarity of the detail of the force feedback that you're feeling in the wheel, is enhanced. It feels not muted compared to the version 1. The version 1 has good detail, don't get me wrong, but the version 2 seems to step it up a bit. It makes it more immediate, what you see and what you feel in your hand. It's just a very nice feeling. As soon as my tires start to lose grip, I can feel it pretty much right away in my hands, and I really like that. And I'm used to driving, of course, as you all know, I use a Bodner wheel most of my time on the simulator, and it's kind of the same. Of course, it doesn't approach what the Bodner does, but then they're in two totally different classes of wheels, so it shouldn't. I wouldn't expect it to, but it does do better than the version 1 versus the version 2. And I kind of know what to look for rather in that department as far as clarity, because of the experience I have on the Bodner wheel. So that is definite improvement. The whole thing just feels more solid in your hands, and I've run this wheel for over 2 hours, lap after lap after lap, with no force feedback fade whatsoever. It's just very solid, and I know that some people have experienced fade in their version 1s when they first came out, and I was one of those people, and that's the reason why I'm looking for something like that. But I can tell you there is no fade whatsoever in this wheel. It just kept going and going, and it never changed its attitude, and the feeling of the wheel never changed while I was driving it. So that's a definite improvement. I'm really pleased with that. I think this is going to be a great upgrade for those of you who do get the version 2 wheel. Now, I know a lot of you have a version 1 wheel now, and you're probably going to ask, well, should I sell my 1 and get a 2? That's totally up to you. And again, this is a beta unit. I can't stress that enough. There may be some changes in it when it becomes a production unit. But I can't imagine them changing too much in it because it's a pretty damn good system right now. So anyway, that's my impressions of driving the wheel after driving it for a while. And we'll just go ahead and get to some quick final thoughts and in this preview of the Fanatec Beta CSW version 2 wheel. So I hope you enjoyed our little preview on the CSW version 2 wheelbase from Fanatec. This is a definite improvement over the version 1 base. I think across the board it pretty much improves on everything. I really don't have anything to complain about in the short time that I've been using this platform. I think that Fanatec has listened to the sim racing community and has addressed the concerns of the version 1 platform and really did a good build on this one. You can definitely tell the difference when you have it in hand. Now we really can't do a proper review on this because again this is a beta unit and the things that you saw in this video are subject to change by Fanatec as they deem fit. But I hope they don't change anything because I'm pretty happy with the beta unit that I have right here. But until the production units come out, we can't really do a proper review on it. So until then, I'm Barry Rowland, and thanks again for watching the Sim Racing Garage channel.